A very good morning everyone. In the previous session we have started a new chapter, that is chapter 8, air. Okay. In this chapter we have studied that what is the composition of air, how we can prepare oxygen. We have studied in these two methods, like from hydrogen peroxide by using a catalyst, manganese dioxide, and from potassium chloride. Right? Then we have studied the comparison between the burning and respiration, then the combustion of metal, non-metal and organic compounds, and then flammable substances. Right? So all these things we have studied in the previous session. Today we have to start a new topic of this chapter, that is change in mass on burning in air. Okay, if we burn any substance, so let's begin this. Listen here. If we burn any substance in air, their mass is changed or their mass is increased. Why this? Listen here. If we are burning any substance, okay, in the presence of oxygen you can say, or if you are burning any substance in air oxygen is present. Okay, so if you are burning anything in air, okay, the new product which you will get, the mass of that product will be increased from the earlier substance. Got it? So new product will form, right? If you are burning anything, for example, if you are burning coal, if you are burning wood, if you are burning a pencil, okay. So if you are burning any substance in the presence of air, the presence of air means in the air oxygen is present, and without oxygen burning is not possible, as I told you, right? So if you are burning any substance in the air or in the oxygen, then the new substance you will get, and the mass of that new substance will be increased from the earlier substance or from the earlier mass of that substance. Clear? For example, like if we have taken magnesium, okay, if you burn the magnesium in the presence of air, in the air oxygen is present, so the magnesium will combine with the oxygen. So if you are burning any substance, that substance will combine with the oxygen of the air. Got it? If you are burning any substance, that substance will combine with the oxygen. Got it? And gives a new compound, or you can say the oxides compound. So here I have taken a magnesium. Okay, so as example I have taken here magnesium. I am burning here the magnesium with the oxygen. Okay, so this magnesium will combine with the oxygen and gives magnesium oxide. It gives magnesium oxide. Okay, now for example, the mass of this magnesium in the reactant or earlier before burning, the mass of this is, for example, I have taken 5 gram. Got it? 5 gram of magnesium I have taken, and I have burned this 5 gram of magnesium in the presence of oxygen. Got it? So this 5 gram magnesium will combine with the oxygen and give increased mass of the new product. Like for example, like this oxygen is 2 gram. Got it? So this 5 gram of magnesium will combine with 2 gram of oxygen and it gives 5 plus 2, 7 gram of magnesium oxide. Got it? So that's what I want to say, that if you burn any substance, that substance will combine with oxygen. Got it? And the new substance which you will get, the mass of that substance will be increased from the earlier mass of that substance. Well, earlier when you have not burned, okay, then if you weight the mass of magnesium, then it will be a 5 gram. Okay, after burning, you will see when you get the magnesium oxide, the mass of this magnesium will increase and it becomes 7 gram because this magnesium has combined with this oxygen and forms magnesium oxide, and that's why the mass of this is increased. Got it? Clear? So this mass is not the actual masses of these compounds, okay, of these elements. Actually, I have taken here the example to make you understand. Got it? So here, if you burn any substance, okay, that substance will combine with the oxygen, and the substance, the new substance which you will get, the mass of that substance will be increased in compared to the mass of the earlier substance which you have taken. Okay. So this one is clear. For this, the experiment is given, like mass on burning. So see this. Okay, magnesium gains mass on burning. Okay, this is experiment. So for this experiment, what you have to take? You have to take porcelain crucible. What are porcelain crucible? It is a laboratory container, you can say, in which we are heating the metals or any substance at high temperature. Okay, so you can say that the porcelain crucible is actually a container. Okay, and in that we are burning the substances at high temperature. Okay, so what you have to take? You have to take clean and dry porcelain crucible. Okay, with a lid. Okay, place about 1 gram of a clean magnesium ribbon in the crucible. So what you have to do? You have to take a porcelain crucible. For example, this I have taken a porcelain crucible. Okay, with a lid. So this is a lid. Got it? And in this porcelain crucible, I have taken here 1 gram of magnesium. Okay, 1 gram of magnesium you have to take. Now, with the help of a Bunsen flame, okay, with the help of a burner, this Bunsen flame, or you can say the burner that we are using in the chemistry lab, with the help of that you have to heat this. Okay, so you have to heat this. Okay, now so you have to heat this porcelain, okay, in which we have taken a 1 gram of magnesium. Okay, so this magnesium will burn. This magnesium will burn in air. Okay, with a very dazzling or bright light. So you have to give a space to come air in this. Okay, that's why I have not closed completely, because air will not come. If air will not come, then that means oxygen is not coming in this container, and the magnesium will not burn. The substance will burn only in oxygen. Okay, if oxygen is not present, if air is not present, the substance will not burn. So I have not closed here completely this lid. Okay, I have taken here the space so that the air will come slowly in this container. Got it? So magnesium will burn in the air. Got it? And don't open completely this lid, because the materials, the magnesium or the substances will go out. The content of this magnesium will go out. Okay, so we have to close, but not in a completely. Okay, in such a manner that the air should come inside it. Okay, to burn the magnesium. Okay, so the air will come in this, and the magnesium will burn with a dazzling of bright light. Okay, so after burning, when the burning is completed, the magnesium will completely burn. Okay, after that, the substance, the content of the magnesium which is burned, okay, that will be in the container. That will be in the porcelain crucible. Okay. Okay. So what you have to do now? Take this porcelain crucible. Okay, with the magnesium, burn magnesium in this. Okay, and wait. First, before burning, you have taken a porcelain crucible. In that you have taken 1 gram of magnesium. Okay, so before burning, first you have to wait. Okay, you have to wait. And after burning, then again take this porcelain. Okay, in which the burned magnesium is there. Okay, burned magnesium is there. Right? So if you will wait earlier, you will see that the mass will come, for example, the mass will come A grams. Okay, after burning of magnesium, when you will weigh this porcelain, okay, the mass will come B gram. Why this? Because you will get of this burned magnesium porcelain, you will weigh this, okay, you will get the increased mass of this. Okay, means the B gram is greater than A gram. and it is because the oxygen is combined here with the magnesium, okay, and that's why the mass of oxygen and magnesium combined and it increase the mass of or the weight of this complete magnesium with the porcelain. Got it? And that's why the B gram is greater than the A gram. Here again I am repeating this. Listen here. Before doing this experiment, you have taken a porcelain crucible, that is the container in the lab we are using to heat metals or any substance at high temperature. Okay, this is the porcelain crucible. So here I have taken a porcelain crucible and in this I have taken a 1 gram of magnesium. Now weight this 1 gram of magnesium with this porcelain crucible. Okay. Now for example, your if you have weight this, okay, 8 gram is coming. Now burn this with the help of a burner. Okay. Now when you will burn and after burning the magnesium is completely burned, then again take this porcelain and weigh again. In this porcelain burned magnesium is here. Okay. You will get B gram. That is the second weight. Okay. You will observe this that B gram is greater than A gram. Why? Because in burned magnesium, oxygen is combined. Because I told you that magnesium when you will burn, this magnesium will combine with oxygen. So weight of oxygen will also combine with the magnesium. So the increased mass of this burned magnesium you will get after burning. Got it? So that's why the mass on burning in air is changed. Okay, or you can say the magnesium after burning gain mass. After burning gain mass because magnesium will combine with oxygen also. Okay, so oxygen will also have some weight, right? So if magnesium will combine with oxygen, the mass of magnesium will be increased. Okay, so that's why here the magnesium will gain mass on burning. Now come to the next topic, that is rusting. So rusting is a slow oxidation process. Just opposite of this burning. Okay. Differentiation is given in your book. You have to learn that. Okay, then come to the rusting. Rusting is a slow oxidation process. Slow oxidation process. Okay, so rusting is what? Rusting is a slow oxidation process. Okay, in this, the slow conversion of iron into red brown hydrated iron oxide in the presence of moisture is the rusting. Okay, so rusting is actually a conversion of iron into red brown color. Okay, red brown color substances you will observe on the iron object. Okay, so what is the formula of iron and rusting is Fe2O3. This is the formula, XH2O. Got it? So this rusting will take place only when iron object come in contact of moist air, okay, or come in contact of water and air together. Got it? Then the rusting will take place. So H2O and O2. Then the rusting, this is the formula of rusting. Then the rusting will take place when iron or iron object come in contact of moist air. In moist air, water vapor and oxygen both are present. So when iron object come in contact with the moist air, it will rust. That is Fe2O3. Got it? Or when iron object come in contact with the water, or you can say the water vapor and oxygen, then it forms rusting, that is Fe2O3 XH2O. What are rusting? When iron object get red brown substances, okay, that is the rusting. You have seen in your daily life, right? Now come to the comparison between burning and rusting. So let's see the comparison between the burning and rusting. There's one more thing, that why I have written here XH2O, because the number of water molecule is not certain here. That's why I have written here XH2O. Got it? Now let's see the comparison between burning and rusting. So comparison between burning and rusting. In exam, I will not ask write a comparison between the burning and rusting. I will ask the write a differentiation between the burning and the rusting. Okay, so differentiate between it. I will ask. So burning and rusting. So let's study this burning and rusting. Okay, so the first point in burning is an oxidation process. Okay, oxidation process means, as I told you, oxidation means the addition of oxygen. So whenever you are burning any substance, the substance will combine with the oxygen, or oxygen will add up with that substance. Got it? So that is the oxidation process. So burning is an oxidation process. Then what is the rusting process? Rusting is also a oxidation process. Why this? Because in rusting also the oxygen combined with the iron object and forms rusting. Got it? So this is the comparison. This is the similarity. Burning is also oxidation process. Rusting is also oxidation process. Oxidation process, I told you that when oxygen is added in any substance, okay, that is the oxidation process, or any substance combined with oxygen, that is the oxidation process. Got it? Okay, then second one, it is an exothermic process. So this burning is an exothermic process. Why exothermic process? Means if you burn anything, the heat and light evolve from that, right? So that's why it is an exothermic. As I told you, exo means out, therm means heat. If heat is evolving from any reaction, any burning anything, okay, then that is the exothermic reaction. In rusting also exothermic reaction. Got it? In this also, slowly and gradually, the heat is evolving from this reaction. If the iron is getting rust, then at that time the heat is evolving, and that is rusting is also a exothermic process. Got it? Now, third point, burning is a fast reaction, rusting is a slow reaction. As I told you, burning is a fast reaction. If you burn anything, that will burn in 2 to 3 minutes, or less than that, it will take time, right? But rusting is a slow process. It will take month, year also. Okay. Now come to the fourth point. It generally takes place at high temperature. Burning takes place at high temperature. If you burning, that means if you are burning any substance, okay, that means you are giving a high temperature to burn that, right? Okay, it takes place at ordinary temperature. This rusting is take place at ordinary temperature. At room temperature, it will take place. Okay, we will not give a high temperature to take place the rusting. Okay, on an iron object. Now fifth, it does not require anything other than the combustible substance and oxygen. So in burning, it does not require anything. Okay, the substance which you are burning, okay, that substance is required, and the oxygen is required, or you can say the air is required for the burning. Nothing is required for that. Okay, means catalyst you don't need, right? You need only the substance which you are burning and the air in which you have to burn, right? Now the fifth point, it requires moisture apart from iron and oxygen. Okay, now this rusting needs, as I told you, moisture means water or water vapor, and oxygen. Both the things it requires to get rust on iron object, right? Or iron object get rust only in these two conditions. If only oxygen is present and water vapor or water is not present or not come in the contact of iron object, okay, then the rust will not take place. Rust will take place, or rusting will take place only and only when both the things are there, means the water vapor or the moist air is there, or oxygen is there. In moist air, both the things are there, water vapor and oxygen. So if moist air is there, then the rusting will take place. Got it? And if iron object come in contact with the water also and with the oxygen also, okay, then the rusting will take place. If only one thing is present, means if water vapor is present, oxygen is not present, the rust will not take place. Got it? If oxygen is present and water vapor is not present, then also the rusting will not take place on iron object. Clear? So both the things are required in the rusting. Moist air means water vapor and oxygen, both the things are required in the rusting process. Now come to the sixth point, the residue left if any does not contain water. Okay, so if you burn anything, you will get carbon dioxide, gas will release out, heat will release out. Okay, and in burning ashes, you will see, if you are burning like this duster, you will see that carbon dioxide gas is releasing out, heat and light you will see, and the ashes after burning, the substance, the residue which you will get, that is the only ash. Water you will not get as a residue, right? But in rusting you will get water, okay, as a residue. So as a residue, okay, if residue left, that contains water molecule. Iron, if get rust, rusting means the water molecule is there, right? So if iron it get rust, that means a water molecule is there, and if water molecule is there, that is the residue. So we will say that in rusting process residue is left, okay, that is water. But in burning, residue will not left, means the water will not left as a residue, but in rusting water will left as a residue. Got it? Now test for oxygen. So if you want to test for oxygen, okay, so take a splinter, or you can take any stick, okay, or wooden stick also you can take matchstick also, okay. So if you burning anything, okay, and bring that burned matchstick, okay, near the oxygen, that burned matchstick or that splinter is what? It is actually a wooden piece, okay, or sharp wooden piece, okay. So just like a stick, okay. So if you bring a burned matchstick, okay, or you can say a burned splinter, okay, near the oxygen or in the oxygen gas, then that splinter or that matchstick will burn very brightly, okay, very brightly. So that is the test for oxygen, because oxygen is a supporter of burning, and if you are burning anything in the lots of in a large amount of oxygen, then that substance will burn very brightly, okay. Okay, come to the uses of oxygen. The first point, all combustion process require oxygen, which is usually derived from air, okay. So all combustion process require oxygen. As I told you, if you are burning anything, you are required oxygen, okay. Without oxygen, burning or combustion is not possible of any substance, okay. The second point, it is required for respiration, okay. As I told you this one also, that oxygen is required for respiration. If we will not inhale the oxygen, the glucose which is present in our cell will not break and it will not release energy, and energy we all need to do work, right? So we need oxygen for respiration, okay. So respiration process is what? Respiration process, as we are inhaling oxygen, and that oxygen will dissolve in the blood, and that blood will dissolved blood, that is the oxy blood, okay, will go to our cells, okay, and in the cells glucose is present, that is the 4-6-H12O6, okay. That oxygen the cell will take, okay, from the blood, and that oxygen will break this glucose and gives H2O, oxygen, and thus carbon dioxide and ATP energy, okay, carbon dioxide equation. So glucose, oxygen. So oxygen will break this glucose molecule and gives water and carbon dioxide, and ATP energy it will release, and this energy we are using, okay, to do a different work, or our body systems use to do a different function, right? So this is what oxygen is required for respiration, okay. Without oxygen, the glucose molecule will not break and will not get energy. Now come to the third point, oxygen is given to patients suffering from respiratory problems. You have seen in the hospitals also that patients has been given this oxygen, okay. Now come to the fourth point, deep sea divers carrying a mixture of oxygen and helium for respiration, okay. Deep sea divers, those who are going in the depth of sea and ocean, okay, they are deep sea divers, okay. So these deep sea divers carry with them oxygen helium cylinder, okay. Why they are taking only oxygen helium cylinder? Why they are not taking air instead of that? Because if they will take air, in the air mixture of gases are there, means nitrogen is also present, okay. That nitrogen will get dissolved in the blood, and after that when they come at the when they come on the surface of the ocean or sea, okay, that nitrogen will start to form a bubbles, okay, bubbles in the bones, in the brain, okay, and from that they can get paralyzed also, or even death also, okay. So even death also can be possible from this, okay. So this one is clear. Now come to the fifth point, an oxyacetylene. Okay, oxyacetylene means acetylene compound. Acetylene compound is what? C double bond C triple bond C2H2. Okay, this is the acetylene compound. Okay, structure is this. Molecular formula is C2H2. This is the acetylene compound. Okay, so this acetylene compound is burned with a mixture of oxygen, okay, to keep a high flame, and this we are using for a various purpose, okay, for welding also, for welding metals. Okay, now come to the sixth point. Large amounts of oxygen are used in iron and steel industry for various purposes, okay, like to increase the production of ferromanganese, okay, or to decrease the specific fuel consumption, okay. So that's why we are using the large amount of oxygen for that. Now come to the seventh point. Oxygen is used in large amounts in the manufacture of sulfuric and nitric acid, okay. So large amount of sulfuric acid, nitric acid can be prepared with oxygen if you react the ammonia with the oxygen, okay, in the presence of platinum catalyst, okay, then nitric acid is formed. So oxygen also we are using in preparing of these acids like sulfuric and nitric acids, okay. Then come to the 8 uses of oxygen, that is rocket carry liquid oxygen, okay. If rocket will not carry the liquid oxygen, the fuel of the rocket will not burn, okay, because as I told you, the substance will burn only in the presence of oxygen. That's why in the rocket, okay, the liquid oxygen is already stored in that for the combustion of fuels, okay. Now come to the how is oxygen of air renewed, okay. So don't think that if this much oxygen we are using, okay, so the oxygen level will be decreases from the atmosphere, or it decreases or reduces day by day. No, it is not, because of the photosynthesis process, okay. Plants are doing the photosynthesis process, and from the photosynthesis process plants are releasing oxygen, and oxygen is renewed in atmosphere and in air, okay. So photosynthesis process, all you know that what are the photosynthesis process. Plants take carbon dioxide and water, okay, they have a chlorophyll, that is the green pigment, and chlorophyll, what the function chlorophyll will do? Chlorophyll trap the heat, sunlight, okay, and they make a food for them, that is the glucose, and they as a byproduct they release a oxygen gas, and this oxygen gas will come in the atmosphere, and from this way the oxygen is renewed in the air, okay. Now come to the nitrogen. The next topic is nitrogen. Let's discuss this. This is the last topic of this session. Then carbon dioxide we will study in the next session. Okay. So come to the nitrogen. Okay. So come to the nitrogen process. Okay. So nitrogen process. Okay, nitrogen is used in a large scale, okay. Now, first of all, let's discuss the properties of nitrogen. Okay, nitrogen is a colorless and odorless gas, means nitrogen is not having any color and not having any smell, so odorless and colorless gas, okay. It is sparingly soluble in water, sparingly you can say, or a very little bit, or in a very little amount it is soluble in a water, okay. Not completely it is soluble in the water, partially you can use here, okay. Okay, third properties of nitrogen is nitrogen gas is chemically inert. Chemically inert means it is unreactive or not reacting with any other substance, chemically inert, okay. Now come to this, and it is very important, listen here. As we all know that in the air nitrogen is present in a large amount, in abundance, right? So this nitrogen is present in the atmosphere, okay. Okay, when a thunderstorm comes, or when the lightning happens, okay, when there is a lightning in the upper atmosphere, then what happens? This nitrogen will combine with the oxygen of the air. In the air both the things are present, nitrogen is also present and oxygen is also present, okay. So when there is a lightning in the upper atmosphere, then the nitrogen will combine with the oxygen and forms nitric oxide. Listen here. I am writing all the reactions. Going to write. Okay, listen here. So nitrogen. Okay, the nitrogen which is present in the air, right? Oxygen is also present in the air. So during lightning, when there is a lightning in the upper atmosphere, okay, then this nitrogen will combine with the oxygen and forms nitric oxide, that is NO. This is what? This is nitric oxide. This is nitric oxide. Got it? After that, this nitric oxide combines to react with the oxygen of the air. Okay. So first, when there is a lightning in the upper atmosphere, the nitrogen will combine with the oxygen and forms nitric oxide. Further, this nitric oxide combined with the oxygen. Okay. This nitric oxide combined with the oxygen. Okay. Here I am writing the oxygen. Okay, and gives what? Gives nitrogen dioxide, that is NO2. So first nitrogen combined with the oxygen during lightning and forms nitric oxide. Then this nitric oxide further combines with the oxygen, okay, of the same in the air, okay, with oxygen, and forms nitrogen dioxide, that is NO2. So this is what? This is nitrogen. This is nitrogen dioxide. Okay, this is what? This is nitrogen dioxide. Okay, then this nitrogen. Okay, then this nitrogen dioxide combined with the water. Okay, nitrogen dioxide. Then this nitrogen dioxide further combined with the water. From where the water comes? When it rains. Okay, so as I told you, when thunderstorms come, there is a lightning also in the atmosphere. Okay, rainfall is there also there. Okay, so when it's raining, okay, then the nitrogen dioxide is combined with the water of the rain. Okay, with the water, that is H2O. So here NO2 will combine with the water, that is H2O, and gives nitric acid, that is HNO3. Got it? So this nitrogen combined with the oxygen when there is a lightning in the upper atmosphere. Then it forms nitric oxide. Then this nitric oxide further combined with the oxygen of the air, okay, and gives a nitrogen dioxide, that is NO2. Okay, NO2. Then this nitrogen dioxide combined with the water. From where this water comes? That this water is the rainwater. When it's rain, then in the atmosphere only, okay, this nitrogen dioxide is swimming in the atmosphere. Okay, then when it's rain, then this nitrogen dioxide combined with the water, okay, of the rain and forms a nitric acid, HNO3. Okay, now with the rain, this nitric acid, okay, or with the rain, this nitric acid come in the soil. Okay, this nitric acid come in the soil. When it come in the soil absorbs this nitric acid and forms a nitrate salt. Okay, and the plant take this nitrate salt for the further use. Means plant needs a protein. Okay, means every living thing needs protein, because protein is a building block, right? So plants or the living things needs protein, right? So the plant will take that nitrate salt from the soil, okay, and makes protein. Got it? So this is the process how the plant takes the nitrate salt. First, what's happened? When there is a lightning in the upper atmosphere, the nitrogen combined with the oxygen and forms nitric oxide. Then further this nitric oxide combines with the oxygen and forms nitrogen dioxide. This nitrogen dioxide combines with the rain. Okay, when it combines with the rain, it forms, with the rain means rain water. Okay, that is H2O. So this nitrogen dioxide combined with the water and forms nitric acid, that is HNO3. This nitric acid comes down and as well absorb this nitric acid. Okay, After that, this plant will take this nitric acid in the form of nitrate or nitrite salt, okay, and forms protein. Clear? So this is come to the uses of nitrogen. Okay, here we can write also this nitric acid will go in the soil, and the here you can write nitrate salt also. Nitrate salt. Okay. Nitrate salt means NO2 or NO3 form. Okay. Nitrite and nitrate form. Okay, so it comes to the uses of nitrogen. Okay. So uses of nitrogen. So first point is, as liquid, nitrogen has a very low boiling point. So that's why it is used to preserve blood, corneas, corneas present in our eyes. Okay. And donated organs. Then come to the second point, being chemically inert, it is used for filling food packages. Okay. Just like you have seen the packet of chips, okay, in that gas is filled. That gas is what? That gas is a nitrogen gas, which is used to preserve that fatty things, okay, or that chips, okay. In an inert atmosphere, food does not go bad easily, okay. Now come to do not get the density easily, and that's why the nitrogen gas is filled in the packet of chips, okay. Now come to the third point, that is the atmospheric nitrogen is used to manufacture ammonia, okay, ammonia, that is NH3, which has a large number of industrial uses. So ammonia has a large number of uses in the industries, okay. So atmospheric nitrogen is also used in that. Then come to the fourth point, it is required in large amounts in the manufacture of urea also, okay, urea, that is CuNH2 whole twice, okay, a very important nitrogenous fertilizer. So urea as a fertilizer farmers are using, okay, in the crops. Now come to the use of nitrogen by plant. Okay, so as I told you that plants need nitrogen. Why they need nitrogen? They need nitrogen to make the protein, okay. So protein, as I told you, which is very important for the bodybuilding, okay, or you can say for the repairment of cells, for the growth, okay. So protein is very important for all the living beings, okay, like plant, especially for plant and for human beings, okay. So plant needs nitrogen, right? So from where they take, first I have given the example, nitric acid when comes with the rain, okay, the soil will absorb, and in the form of nitrate salt plant will take, right? So plant will take nitrate salt from the soil, or will absorb, roots of the plant will absorb the nitrate salt, okay, and then the nitrogen in the form of nitrate salt go in the plants, okay, and then plant make from that nitrogen, okay, from that nitrate salt plants make protein. Got it? In the same manner, the leguminous plants like pulses, okay, peas or grams, okay, these are the leguminous plant, okay, pea plant, okay. So these plants, in their roots they have a bacteria, okay, that the name of that bacteria is Rhizobium bacteria, okay. So that bacteria, what this bacteria do? This bacteria convert the atmospheric nitrogen into the nitrate compound, okay, nitrate or nitrite compound, and then give it to the plant. Got it? So by this way also the plant takes a nitrogen and forms protein. Got it? So there is a two way that the plant takes a nitrogen and makes protein. The one from this, okay, that this nitric acid comes down, okay, with the rain, and soil will absorb, then this nitrate salt the plant will absorb and forms a protein. And the second one, that is from the leguminous plant like pea plant, okay, like gram, okay, pulses. If these plants if you okay, if these plants if you plant in the field, okay, then their roots have a Rhizobium bacteria, okay, which used to convert, this Rhizobium bacteria is used to convert atmospheric nitrogen, okay, from the atmosphere it takes a nitrogen from the atmosphere and convert this nitrogen into the nitrate or nitrite salt and give it to the plant, and this plant will take this nitrate or nitrite compound, okay, and forms a nitrogen and forms a protein from that nitrogen, okay. Okay, so these are, I hope, clear to you all, okay. So two things you have to remember, okay, Rhizobium bacteria, which is present in the nodules of a leguminous plant, okay, and this bacteria takes the nitrogen from the atmosphere, convert this atmospheric nitrogen into a nitrate and nitrite compound, and this nitrate compound the plant will take, and from that it makes a protein. Got it? And if we eat plant, okay, then we will get that protein or that nucleic acid, or you can say the protein. Okay. So in fact the human beings also not directly inhaling, as I told you that human beings also directly not inhaling the nitrogen from the atmosphere. We are also taking, in fact we are dependent for the nitrogen on plants. Okay, plant will take from these two ways. Okay, and then if we eat the plant directly or indirectly, we will get that nitrogen and forms protein in our body. Okay, so this is the way of taking or making a protein in our body. Okay, so this topic is clear to you all, I hope so. Okay, next topic, that is the carbon dioxide, we will discuss in our next session. Okay, so whatever I taught you, just revise it. Okay, read thoroughly all the things. Okay, and I have given the short answer question also and long answer question also, so write it in your copy. Neat and clean work I want. Okay, and start to learn also, because your third semester exam is very near. Got it? Thank you.